Hello, everybody. This is Austin Fothery with IC Devs and Origin Foundation. And I wanted to just take a quick minute to walk you through some of the stuff we've been working on that we think is really exciting when it comes to building DAOs and bringing people together to make decisions on the internet computer. We recently deployed this tool called Axon that was created a long time ago, but we brought it up to speed with all of the new cool features of the internet computer and are trying to relaunch it as a community tool to help us get things done on the internet computer. So it's pretty straightforward. You can deploy your own canister, or you can use IC Dev's canister. If you want to use IC Dev's canister, we have instructions on how you can do that. Just reach out to us on Twitter and we'll help get you set up. It's pretty easy. When you come in here, you can create either an individual canister-based wallet, a multi-sig wallet, or a DAO. Once you've done that, you're good to go. We already have one, and I want to show you this DAO that we've created called the Builders Too Busy DAO. And when I click on it and I come in here, you can see that I have a DAO here. It's called Axon 4. It's called the Builder Too Busy DAO. We currently have 4 people. What we're going to do is we're going to add a new member, and I'm going to show you how we have multiple canisters interacting to do that. First, what is the Builder Too Busy DAO? Well, if you're anything like me, you've been in this community for a while and you've been focused on building things, and all of a sudden you go to Twitter a couple times a week and you see that there was an airdrop, or that somebody sent something that was a whitelist deal and you had to do this and do that to get on the whitelist or allow list, and all of a sudden you missed out on something. Well, we wanted to create something for the developers who are busy coding to put their information out there, because we want to help support the community, but we're not always paying enough attention to be in on the beginning of it. But once it's up and running, we want to be able to help. So this is a very simple DAO application. We have a simple text here on a canister on the internet computer, and it has some messaging here. And then we list principals and account numbers and a little bit of text about who folks are. And the idea is that people will be able to use this list to just dump these principals into their allow list, or dump these principals into their airdrop lists, and help the developers in the community so that those developers have the assets they need later to help support those communities. This DAO has this text file. There's also a simple CSV that you can get to that returns the principal with this is a timestamp of how long the person's been a member of the DAO. This is a simple CSV that just has 2 fields. It has the principal, which you can derive the default address from, and it has the timestamp that the person shows how long the person has been a member of the DAO. So you want to be on this list. Well, how do you get on the list? Well, you have to vote to be on the list. Who can vote? The people on the list. So if you notice these principals here, there's 4 of them already. And if I go back and I look at that Axon, they match with those items. So to get on that list, you have to have these people vote for you. So how does this work? We have an Axon canister which runs all of these DAOs. It can support multiple DAOs and multiple canister wallets. When you create a new DAO, it creates a proxy wallet canister. And in our case, this is Axon 4. Via this Axon interface, you're able to elect to have your proxy wallet canister call something on another canister. So this proxy wallet canister will call the BTB DAO and tell it to add somebody. When it adds somebody, it then calls back to the Axon and mints them a new token. So whenever somebody gets added, they also automatically get issued to a new token. If the group were to vote to delete someone off the list because they were a bad actor or for any reason, then they would burn their token and they would no longer have a vote. Let me walk you through how that happens. And I just happened to have someone who submitted something. This is Oleg, who's a project manager for Origin, and we want to get him on this list. So we're able to issue a canister command, and we have to know a couple things about our canister. So we're going to call this add olig, and I'm going to grab our canister ID here. I don't need to send any cycles to this because I'm just calling a function. I'm going to put that canister ID and click load DID. When I click load DID, it pulls in all the possible things I can call. I'm going to add data. And now I want to add my good friend Oleg's principal. He said that he wants his message that he wants everybody to see as every cloud has a silver lining. So I'm going to submit that. That is going to create a new proposal. I have voted for it. So we've had 25% participation. There's only 4 votes. We've reached quorum. So that's one rule of this DAO, is that at least 10% of the people have to vote, which isn't going to be an issue now. But once we have a very large DAO, people are going to have to self-promote themselves and point to this policy where there will be a accept or reject. Or when that's approved, I'll show you what that looks like. I can go back and I can look at all, and I can see all the proposals here. Here is the last one where we proposed to add Fernando, and we can see the dev principal, and we got to clean this up, and then we have dev text show up and do the work, and that was his. And when that happened, it automatically minted his deal. So what does this code look like? First, we are going to look at the DAO, the quick list DAO. And this is open sourced on our IC Devs repo. And it's pretty simple. First of all, we're looking at our types in our migration pathway. This is the first version, so we only have one set here. There is data, which maps a principal to a text and an int. The text is the message that the developer wants. The principal is their principal, and int is the timestamp that they joined the DAO. We have an axon, and we have an axon ID. When we go and we look at our main, we're going to see what functions we have. We load in that state, and we basically have a function to set our axon, which is we pass in a principal of the axon ID. As I mentioned earlier, our axon ID was 4. So when you deploy this, we had to set that axon. We also have to set our admin. If you'll remember in our picture, the proxy wallet said admin. Admin is who's going to call. So when I submit that thing to ask my proxy canister to call that function, it eventually comes through and the caller is the proxy wallet. So I have to set those 2 pieces of information up. Then I have the add data function, where I basically check to see if this already exists, or if it doesn't exist, I know I need to mint a token. So I set that, and I put the information into my map, and then I call the Axon service, and I call the mint function, passing in the Axon ID and the dev principal and 1 token. And when that gets called, it will mint the token. And if that fails, I want to delete this person's information because something went wrong. And if I get it back a supply changed, we're all good. I don't have to do anything. And I return OK. If I add data for a principal that already exists, all I'm going to do is repeat the information. I don't overwrite their timestamp, but I do overwrite their text. And then remove data works pretty much the same way. We delete them out, and then we try to call burn. And if there's an error, we put them back in. So we can also get the list. So if you want to integrate this automatically into some other canister in the internet computer, like you just want to give everybody a token, you can write a function and pull this in. You can also call on list and pass in a principal to check if someone is on the list or not. And then we have the HTTP request that serves up that very sparse page. And we either print out the web page, or if we're at /list, we print out a CSV file. Otherwise, we say not found. And that's it. Super simple contract on the business logic canister for the BTB DAO. On the Axon side, I'm not going to show you everything on Axon, but I will show you the mint and burn functions. They're pretty simple. We actually use the same functionality that you would use to mint, because when you're managing this canister, you can also propose to mint someone tokens. So if we had Fernando earlier, if I wanted to mint him an extra 5 tokens for some reason, because I wanted his vote to count more, I could. I could propose it. The DAO has to approve it. So minting and burning is an implicit function in these DAOs. And when I call, when my business logic canister calls mint on my Axon ID, it is going to check and make sure that my DAO canister has been added as a minter for a particular Axon. So when you set up your policy at the beginning, you want to select your contract principal and add that as a minter, and it will have mint and burn priorities at that point. If it is a minter, it'll look for it and try to find it. And then we are going to apply an Axon command of mint from the in the amount to the recipient. And if it all works, okay, we're done. We're good. Same for burn. It uses the burn, apply Axon command burn. Once you have your token minted, you can now vote on all of the items later on. So if we go back in here and we look at our policy, you can see this is my DAO business logic canister. It is set up as a minter. I can change that policy if I want to. If I go to set policy in here, I can take that out. I could add another canister. You could actually set up a whole slew of canisters that might have minting rights for one reason or another. This could help with separation of concerns. If you have one mechanism that issues tokens because you have staked, you could have all that staking logic in one canister. And if you have another canister that mints tokens because you being on this list, it could query this list every day using the timer and then mint a new token to each person on the list. So that is the builder too busy to pay attention to your allow list, but will support you when it's time DAO. We'll post this up. Currently, I'm the only proposer on it. The developers can change that. If you get on the list, you can make yourself a proposer. And then just keep in mind that if you propose something, everybody else in the DAO is going to vote on it as well. So hopefully this will be just a fun experiment that we can do now, and that anytime anybody says, man, I wish that I could reward all of the developers in the ecosystem and get them really excited about my project, you'll have this DAO and you can go look at it, and there'll be hundreds of potential internet computer developers that you can attract to your project. Thanks, everybody.